If 80% of my understanding comes from what I'm seeing, 0% comes from what I'm hearing on the first day. At the end of level 1, maybe about 200 hours, now I'm understanding nearly 20%, maybe 17, 18% of the whole language overall. That means that my understanding has developed, but still I'm relying almost entirely on what I see. That need for visual input is the key to native language growth. And at the early stages, we compare the first day student to a newborn baby, if you will, or maybe a 1-year-old child. So we think about those skills that the teachers use. What are we doing with crosstalk? We provide the student with the skills to communicate in the same way our first level teachers do. Imagine that you're here in you're in China, for example. You don't know any Chinese. All around you are Chinese people. We see those people as prospective teachers. But how do you talk to them? Do they understand English? Probably not. If so, not very easy to talk anyway. And the amount of time and effort it takes to sit down and have a 3 or 4 sentence conversation that would normally take the space of maybe 10 seconds or 20 seconds, in fact might take 10 or 20 minutes. Because here's what happens. I say something in broken Chinese to the Chinese person. They listen, and they try to figure out what I'm saying, and they try to figure out the answer. And then they think about, that happens quite rapidly, by the way. Then they think about how to say it in English. So they're translating their Chinese answer into their broken English, which then comes back to me so I can understand it. And that whole process takes so much time and is so tiresome that in fact I'm practicing broken Chinese, which does not help my listener. He's practicing broken English, which doesn't help him either, or help me either. And in fact, practicing without enough input as a basis doesn't help either of us. So we have a very tiresome conversation that lasts about 5 minutes, and each one goes his own way. What do we want to see happen? Exactly the opposite. I'm already fluent in English. He's already fluent in Chinese. If we can add in all the visual techniques that our level 1 teachers use, for he and myself, we both can have a very engaging, relatively high level of conversation and find out about each other. We can begin to share things that before we wouldn't have even imagined after a year's worth of language study. Is that possible? Yes, we do that regularly. What we want to see happen is enough of those relationships develop so that, let's say I'm in China, I develop a relationship with 5 different Chinese people. What happens? They might be in the same language program as me or nearby, or they might be friends at work. We're able to engage in discussions visually using the same techniques, experiencing experiences together, which is the foundation of relationships, communicating visually like the mother communicates with the baby. And I develop his English skills all the while he's developing my Chinese skills. Does that work? That's the foundational basis of ALG. As we provide that to our students in Thailand learning Thai, what happens? Initially, students are afraid, oh, if I'm interacting in my own native language, then I'm not listening to Thai. What we found is this: the engagement of the student increases. Let's face it, if I'm sitting here listening to Thai being used, I can tune out, just like when I'm watching the TV. Sometimes I might doze off or think about some other things and come back 10 minutes later. It doesn't really matter. But if I'm engaged in a conversation, it's very difficult to doze off. I'm engaged. I'm right there. I've got to follow everything. And when a person gets engaged, that quality of interaction is very important. And so with crosstalk, we're bringing a whole new interaction level to our ALG program. Not only that, but it's enabling students to develop the language outside of the classroom in a whole new way. Oftentimes, people have come and said, yeah, I have a Thai friend or perhaps a partner, and we have difficulty talking. The English isn't so good, and my Thai is not so good. What do I do? We always recommend crosstalk. We've never been able to effectively pass those tools on to the student until recently. And now what we have are crosstalk workshops. People might come and visit Bangkok for 2 months. They want to be able to get around. What works for them? Survival Thai? Nah. 10 words, does that help? Not much. But the ability to communicate with confidence takes them anywhere in Bangkok or anywhere else in the world. I was talking to a student recently who said he went to Vietnam and used crosstalk effectively. Another student went to Cambodia and was able to use crosstalk to create whole documentaries with the local Khmer people. I find that the more we use crosstalk as a means, the more engaged people are in their communication and interaction. And we're coming to an exciting new frontier with ALG crosstalk.